recording this, so just in case for that, I would like to say that I, for one, welcome our new zombie overlords. With a passion to see the sport he loves blossom in Calgary and Canada, Matthew Talbot-Turner started Breathe Parkour magazine. In 1 year, the magazine has grown to be loved by people not just in Canada, but worldwide. Now, expanding to include the talent you enjoyed on the River Walk earlier this evening, Parkour in Calgary is even stronger than he could have hoped. Please welcome Matthew Talbot-Turner.
I'm definitely the shortest guy that's going to be here. Just before I get started, I'm going to be speaking about fear, and what's really ironic is, just like everybody that's getting up here, I'm terrified, but I just want to thank Patrick. We had a short talk before I got started, and it made me feel much better, much better. I only want to throw up a little bit. That obnoxious yoga bag is right. I can't tell you if it's right about the pursuit of happiness, ruining your life, or the very pedophilic statement equating children to orgasms. Those are questionable at best. I can only tell you that it's right about fear, and it says to do one thing a day that scares you. And that's terrific advice if you're willing to take it. You could start by ordering a new dish from your favorite restaurant. Later, you could ask for that raise from your boss you know you already deserve. My boss looks kind of like this. Later in your quest, you could go talk to that pretty redhead at the party that's already intimidated all the other guys there. Even later, you could find yourself scuba diving or investing your life savings into Greek bonds. Whatever your path, everybody's dance with fear is a little bit different. For a time in my life, I chose not to dance at all and became a wallflower in life, passing up my chance every time fear asked me to the floor. Now naturally, in school, this put me on the sidelines of a lot of literal dances. As I became an adult, I continued to curtail the fear, even though I managed to hide it better. I hid it by doing the normal stuff. I moved out, I went to parties, I even met a girl or two. But despite what it looked like, I still was gripped by fear. I was terrified of success, so I never sought to better myself. And I was scared of failure, so I rarely ever tried. Now luckily for me, I identified my fear as what it was. It was an obstacle, keeping me from fulfilling my goals and reaching my full potential. I decided drastic action was necessary. A fresh perspective was necessary. I needed a change that would scare me. So, 2 weeks later, I moved to China. As it turns out, going from 0 to 100 miles per hour in the fear fast lane doesn't necessarily solve all your problems. As soon as I was back, I found myself falling right back into my old habits. Only worse, I was addicted to succumbing to fear, and I was off the wagon. My relapse lasted 4 years. Now the biggest thing most ex-addicts will tell you is that they found an outlet. It could be anything from AA to religion, exercise to work or a hobby. And I found a little bit of everything in parkour. And I gotta say, parkour saved my life. Now, let me clarify. As you probably noticed, I haven't once mentioned the horrible disease I was dying from. It didn't exist. And I wasn't about to take my own life. That would be scary. But I didn't really have a life. I had no life to speak of, so I let parkour teach me how to have one. Parkour is the activity or sport of moving rapidly through an environment, typically an urban environment, negotiating obstacles by jumping, running, and climbing. It's about getting from point A to point B as efficiently as possible, coupled with free running, that is, adding a bit of flair to your parkour. I had found my daily dose of fear, and I loved it. It started simply as a hobby for me. It got me off the couch and out of my apartment for a couple hours a week. But the hobby phase ended fairly shortly. Once I started meeting other people in the sport, it became my Fear AA. I met the ex-introvert / bookworm turned instructor who would go out of his way in the past to avoid human contact. Or the real ex-addict who turned his life around from a dead end of drugs and alcohol and is now starring in commercials. Soon after that, I took it upon myself to make parkour my main source of exercise. Okay, my only source of exercise. I went from a diminutive 110 pounds to 145, and for the first time ever, felt comfortable with myself. I worked hard to improve myself so I could improve at my craft. Seeing the improvement in myself, I wanted to help others benefit as well. And I know what you're thinking. Great. This is where parkour turns into his religion, and he starts preaching about how God helped him overcome obstacles, and the next thing you know, there's going to be people doing backflips on my doorstep, asking me if I've heard the good news. The truth is, it hadn't reached the religious point for me yet. I chose to help others by joining the ranks of those who had helped me, and began to teach for a decent wage. It was during a class that a comment made me think of the religious-like aspects of parkour. A student jokingly said, "You're kind of building an army here, hey?" I was floored. I stood at the front of my class and gazed at the sea of newcomers. It was easy to pick out 8 or 10 kids eagerly anticipating some kind of change, and I hoped they found it. After class that day, I couldn't help but compare the person I was, or had been, to who I was then. Fear was still in my life, sure, but almost as a friend, or at very least the smelly coworker from two cubicles down. I reflected on the calm I felt as I hung in the air between 2 obstacles. I relished the fact that I now viewed all obstacles in my life, both physical and mental, as unique opportunities instead of roadblocks. So, if the moral of the story is to do one thing a day that scares you, you're probably asking, what have you done today, Matt? The easy answer would be, obviously, speaking in front of a room full of strangers. But now that I'm up here, that's not so bad. To get something truly scary, we have to go back to that pretty redhead I had the courage to talk to all that time ago. Her name is Frankie Scribble, and what would be truly terrifying is in front of everybody, I asked, "Would you marry me?" Said yes. I, for one, welcome our parkour overlords. Okay. Reed Henry is a passionate urbanist working for over 15 years to develop spaces and places